This view from external cameras on the International Space Station showing the entry of the Soyuz vehicle as it barrels through the Earth's atmosphere. A rare view of the Soyuz streaking towards a pre-dawn landing on the central steppe of Kazakhstan. Less than 20 minutes to go till touchdown. And now the first view of Soyuz commander Sergei Volkov in his reclining chair, having a few moments to acclimate himself to a gravity environment for the first time in 5.5 months. As you can see, the ground is snow-covered, quite cold, as sunrise has emerged. Volkov wrapping up his second long-duration mission. He was the Expedition 17 commander of the International Space Station 3 years ago. Now the second crew member is being extracted. There is Mike Fossum, the Expedition 29 commander, wrapping up his third flight into space with a big smile. Being carried to his reclining chair. He'll be wrapped up in a warm blanket. Again, a few minutes of an acclimation to a gravity environment. Fossum looks to be none the worse for wear. We're still awaiting the extraction of Satoshi Furukawa, and now on the line with us from the landing site is NASA Public Affairs Officer Josh Byerly. Josh, if you can hear me, good morning on Tuesday morning there. Please give us a description of what you're seeing.
Well, I can verify that it's cold. I can tell you that. They warned us about the weather out here. As far as the landing, everything went fine. The capsule's on its side, as I'm sure you can see. The crew is doing well. Everybody's flashing a big thumbs up. This actually was one of the more dramatic landings I think I've seen in the years that I've been doing this, because the sun was just coming up. Joel Montalbano and I were on one of the first helicopters to get here. But right as the entry interface was happening, we looked out the right side, the starboard side of our helicopter, and we could actually see the entry taking place. There was a huge plasma trail coming back behind the Soyuz as you saw it re-entering. It looked really different than what the shuttle typically does. It wasn't sort of a line of plasma that you typically see if you've ever seen a shuttle come back in. It was sort of this V-shaped plasma trail coming out behind it. So it was quite dramatic in these early morning hours here in Kazakhstan.
Josh, we actually saw the same thing from external cameras on the International Space Station. It was very spectacular. We see now that Satoshi Furukawa is out of the Soyuz in his seat, all three crew members out, and considering the weather conditions and the single-digit temperatures there, this was a very swift recovery operation.
Yeah, they always move really fast. We always talk about that. But given the weather out here today, which is just intense, it doesn't even begin to describe what it is out here. Luckily, the wind is not quite as bad as what we were expecting, but the temperature is in the single digits, and you can definitely tell just by standing out here. I mean, any part of your body that's exposed, like your face or like mine is right now, it just the wind and the cold just sort of attacks your skin. So the crew is being moved very quickly by the search and recovery forces. They're not taking their time or anything like that. They're just making sure the crew is feeling okay, which they are. They're taking some pictures right now, and they do have the medical tent set up. There was going to be a question about whether they would end up setting up the medical tent or not, and they did end up doing that because the wind, like I said, was not as bad as what they were expecting. But the recovery forces, I'm standing probably about 10 foot away from right now, and they're starting to roll the Soyuz, so I'm going to move out of the way. But the crew, like I said, the crew's doing really well. It's sort of a cool, cold greeting to them, after having been in space 5 or 6 months. But we'll talk to Mike Fossum and Satoshi here in just a couple of hours once we get back to Kustanai, ask them about their time on board the station, and we'll also be talking about that handover between Fossum and Dan Burvey. Of course, it was only 4 days long, so we'll ask him some questions about that.
Continuing to receive television from the landing site. As you can see, the sun is up on essentially a clear morning in central Kazakhstan, although quite cold. The Soyuz now has been propped up upright. It will be hauled via aircraft back to a return to its Energia facilities in Moscow for technical analysis.